All right, welcome to the Scorched Earth Sports Podcast. We are working on this right now. I am heading home from Las Vegas. I spent the day there. Had a great sports podcast with Scott. Tried to get things going with Brian. He's going to be on Monday and Thursdays. We're pretty much just going to talk about baseball. Maybe we'll talk a little about Van Halen. Scott was great. I hope you caught that interview. It's over on Off the Rails. We're going to put some links there. Like I said, though, I'm heading back from Vegas. And March Madness is starting to come around. The sports books are starting to fill. You know, in the summer, when baseball is going on, after hockey and basketball finals are all wrapped up, man, it's like a ghost town in there, right? You know, you're watching the late Mariners game, and there's like 6 people in the book. Well, tonight, it was a full book. And, you know, it always just, look, I know we get competitive and we want to win, but I happen to be in this group, in this little section where there's like 8 or 10 guys, and they thought they were all just the most brilliant people in the world, right? And look, there is a science to handicapping sports. We all know that. But, man, sometimes even the best handicappers can go on a cold streak. You know, I heard Billy Walters, who's pretty much acknowledged the best sports gambler ever, and he was like, you know, sometimes I just felt lucky that I won. You know, even though all the research is there, you know, sometimes it's just a call or two. And so I'm in this group. There's about 6 or 8 of them, and I'm telling you, it's been a long time since anybody saw 300 pounds, right? I mean, these guys are heading. They're heading up to 400, and the only thing that's going to stop them is the dessert tray at the buffet, right? So it's so funny when you have these premier basketball athletes and he misses a dunk or he messes up on the fast break, and they're like, how can you miss that? How can you do that? And I'm thinking to myself, you know, dude, I don't even know if you can make it to the front counter without oxygen, you know? But, you know, you don't say nothing because you know what? It's not like I'm an Olympic athlete myself, you know, and there's been times where I'm like, oh my gosh, how does it go? But I'm on the other side of sports gambling. I know I'm never going to make money at it. I enjoy it. And honestly, it just comes and goes, right? So if you could, hit the like and subscribe button. Like I said, I believe this week we're going to move all the operations over to Off the Rails. Friday, Scott and I are going to preview the March Madness and the NASCAR. I'm really looking forward to it. I will say this, I learn a lot from him. He is really, really a sharp guy on that stuff. And pretty much everything, you know. I thought the couple times he's already been on, he's just been, you know, excellent. You know, let's just pat ourselves on the back a little more. Okay, John? So let's start out with the recap in sports for Wednesday. OKC went into Boston, and it was a finals preview. It was a tough-fought game. OKC walked away with the victory. Jason Tatum was good. I will say this. I held out that Jokic still should win the MVP. Tonight, SGA got it. He was spectacular. A couple times Boston tied it up late in the game. He just willed them to victory on the road in a really, really tough place. Kudos to him. Kudos to OKC. They are, to me, the chalk favorites to win the NBA title. I know the West is really tough, but boy, that guy is just lights out. The whole team is, actually. They were without Jalen Williams too, which is a big thing. Also, I was watching the reason I'm leaving Vegas so much late is because I watched the end of that Knicks-Portland game, and Portland had him. Oh my gosh, they had him. And Mikal Bridges hit a 3-pointer as time expired in OT to get the 1-point victory, and what a heartbreaker for the Trailblazers. They just fought their heart out. It just seems like it's one of those years. You know, the Trailblazers are a lot better than people give them any credit for. The Knicks won one without Brunson. It was a big win for them. I was kind of surprised. Mikal Bridges, I guess, earlier in the day was talking about how Tom Thibodeau, the coach of the Knicks, needs to not make his starters play so many minutes. And I've discussed this previously. Tom Thibodeau is going to get fired. He is going to burn that team out. They are going to go out in the first round. I tell you this, I'm going to go out on a limb right now. If they play the Pistons in the first round, that is going to be a real tough series, and I think the Pistons are going to win. The Pistons are just a fresher, younger team. Tom Thibodeau burns his teams out. He gets them up. He gets them up to a high level real quick, and then they just can't stand him, and they can't stand his tactics. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to treat them like grown men, too. You got to give them rest when they need it. You can't put them 35, 38 minutes a game. Jesus criminy, these guys are all over 30. All right, whatever. Okay, Jay, calm down. All right, NFL, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. First time in his career, he's a free agent. I'm not sure where he ends up. I mean, obviously he's going to play somewhere for the minimum. I would assume he's not really going to go to the Giants. I would assume he wants to go somewhere. I would assume his dream would be Pittsburgh, right? You got Pickens, you got Metcalf, you got a great coach, you got a good defense. I would assume that's where he'd want to go, but does Mike Tomlin want that headache? I mean, I don't know. But, you know, I don't really know. I mean, they lost Justin Fields. I don't think they're going to re-sign Russell Wilson. To me, I don't know who's going to sign Russell Wilson. Who wants that headache on your payroll? And that's also part of the problem with Aaron Rodgers. He brings a lot of baggage with him. He's a talented guy. Well, let's put it this way. We still have the perception of him 3 years ago in Green Bay, right? That guy doesn't exist anymore. We're talking about a guy who blew out his Achilles, and honestly, if his name wasn't Aaron Rodgers, everybody would have benched him probably 3 games into the season last year. You know, it's just what you got. Rams, Los Angeles Rams, released Cooper Kupp because they couldn't find a trade partner. Yeah, we kind of figured that was coming. I mean, the contract's the big problem. He's guaranteed $20 million. They're going to take the cap hit. I believe the cap hit is $8 million. You know, there you go. I like Cooper Kupp, but, you know, I especially with Devontae Adams signing, you know, they need a little more speed. Puka Nacua, you know, he's a great possession receiver. He basically took over for Cooper Kupp, you know. The Eagles signed A.J. Dillon from the Green Bay Packers to a 1-year deal. You know, I really don't know what this means, but I could have never anticipated how great that Saquon Barkley signing was going to be. Howie Rosenbloom might be the best GM in all of sports. That guy is just a savant. Everything he does seems to work. They're going to build the offensive and defensive line even more. You know, to me, I saw him at 7-1 to win the Super Bowl. I was like, wow, that seems like a very fair price. I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens, right? DeMarcus Lawrence of the Cowboys signed a free agent deal with the Seahawks. What is Seattle going to do for the receivers? I mean, I congratulate them on the Sam Darnold thing, but you lost Metcalf and you lost Lockett. I mean, and you got a really bad offensive line. I understand Sam Darnold taking the money. I mean, yeah, I'm going to turn down $60 million guaranteed. Yeah, right. But what is he walking into? You know, he's leaving Minnesota where you had a really great head coach who was in tune with offense. You had a really good offensive line, and you had probably the best 2 receivers, number 1 and number 2, outside of maybe Cincinnati, in the NFL. Justin Jefferson, I mean, you know, you can make the case he's the best one, or maybe, you know, just slightly behind Jamar Chase, you know, and Jordan Addison just had a phenomenal year. I mean, you know, and now what's he going to? He's throwing the ball to me and Scott. And let me tell you something. You know, the only time I'm moving quick is when they open the buffet. I'm telling you, just like those guys in the sports book tonight. DeMarcus Lawrence signed a 3-year deal, $42 million, $18 million guaranteed. You know, pass rushers are at a premium in the NFL. We'll see what happens. Major League Baseball. We'll talk about this a little more with Brian tomorrow. But Bobby Witt of Kansas City got hit in the forearm Thankfully, there was no fracture. You know, it's funny. I was looking at the over and under today in FanDuel on his number of home runs, and it was 30 and a half, and I was thinking, man, I ought to bet that. And then I waited, and then I saw it come across the ticker, and I said, okay, thank you, God. I don't need that nonsense, right? Like we talked about the Knicks. Oh, cute little thing out of the University of Michigan. Scott brought it up, and I kind of had forgotten it. Michigan doesn't have a mascot. And why don't they have the Wolverine? What am I missing? I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But Bryce Underwood, the top-rated prospect at quarterback who was going to go to LSU, and then they flipped him back to his home state of Michigan, said today in an interview he's going to win. He expects to win a couple of Heismans and a Natty. Yeah, okay, buddy. Good luck with that, right? We got the Players' Championship starting today down there in Ponte Vedra, Florida, and your favorite is Scotty Scheffler. I told you in an earlier podcast yesterday, I really don't like him. Obviously, last week, Tee to Green, he still is the best player in the world. But his putting is off. It's just not there. I personally like Ludwig Åberg. He lives down there. It's kind of his home course. I'm still impressed with the win at the Genesis earlier. Xander Schauffele, I think he still has a little too much rust. The people I really like, I like Shane Lowry for a top 10. I like Matsuyama for a top 10 and a win. I took Lowry and Matsuyama both to win and a top 10. I took Åberg to win. I didn't take him for a top 10 because I'm not going to get a buck 20. That's, if you're going to bet in the PGA Tour, you better get 2.5 to 1 because there's just too many good golfers, and I don't care. Like, I think Scotty Scheffler was minus 400 to get a top 10. That's insane. I mean, anybody who does that's got to be an idiot because you know what? He could dunk 2 in the water on 17. Doesn't really matter, right? Other people I like Russell Henley. I think he's he's got a little too much juice on him because he came back from the win last week. Daniel Berger, I bet him for a top 10 too. The 3 guys I had Daniel Berger, Matsuyama, and Shane Lowry. And I keep telling you, Shane Lowry is going to win the British Open. I am kind of bummed out though about Tiger blowing his Achilles heel. It kind of sucks. I've never really been the big Tiger fan, but the LIV thing kind of brought me over to it. We also heard yesterday that Brooks Koepka, there's been a lot of rumors that he was going to fold back into the PGA Tour. He said he's going to fulfill his contract with LIV. That's called I want to make sure I get my other $80 million. Can't blame the cat for that, right? As far as I'm concerned, LIV, they can keep Dustin Johnson. They can keep all those guys. They can keep Phil Mickelson because you know what? I don't really care. They don't bring anything to the tour. And Bryson DeChambeau, F you and F you. Nobody liked you when you were on the tour. You tried to be a nice guy when you won the U.S. Open. Yeah. You're still a jerk. You're still a dick. That's what I got to say. Hey, if you could, though, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave some comments. Hey, listen to Scott. Scott's really got it going down. Actually, I don't want to say this, but I think he might be better than me. But I created the channel, so I can't tell him that. All right, everybody, you have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.